The government can't make it rain, but it can make it rain money. And that's what it's been trying to do to palliate the effect of the drought by creating more and more programs, mostly designed to do everything except the one thing that's really necessary, which of course is to provide more water where it's desperately needed. There's millions been allocated for weed management, to rejuvenate local towns, money for local road projects, and more money again for low interest rate loans for farmers and regional businesses that eventually they must pay back. Indeed, in the newspaper today, after weeks of fierce criticism over his performance, the Federal Water Minister, David Littleproud, has detailed all the various benefits that the federal government gives to drought-stricken farmers. And he doesn't pull his punches when it comes to some of the states, naming and shaming those he argues, Tasmania, South Australia and WA in particular, need to pull their weight. According to Littleproud, the federal government alone has made significant amounts of money available, $224,000 per farmer per year via income support payments and loan subsidies. And while that might sound a lot, $224,000 for a business that can readily spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on fodder, power bills, water and other stock feed, this sort of money lasts weeks only, not the 12 months that ministers like Littleproud might hope. And this is where the states are meant to partner with the Commonwealth, given fodder support and freight is in their direct area of responsibility. But like most things that matter, education, health and farmers, who does what is a dog's breakfast of divided responsibilities, and too often the states shortchange the payments they're supposed to make and instead play the blame game. If you're a drought-affected farmer and can get the onerous paperwork done, I might add, the Morrison government, as I said, is on the hook for their $224,000 payment regardless of where you live. But what the states provide varies massively. New South Wales, who support their farmers the best, well, they provide $69,000 per farmer per year. But still, that's only about a third of what comes from Canberra. In Queensland, it's just shy of $40,000 per farmer per year. Victoria, merely $25,000, and in Tasmania, it's $7,500. You're right, $7,500 in Tassie, compared with $69,000 in New South Wales. Worse yet is South Australia. Nothing is paid by that state government to farmers in need, nor in WA. This is the mess of hodgepodge payments for farmers, all in drought, but better off or worse off, depending on which state they live in. And this is also the mess that Australians, urban and regional, farmers or not, expect their governments to sort out. And while subsidies and support is important, because we've got to keep these farms going, we've got to keep the farming generations on the land, there's no doubt this current crisis has exposed how urgently reform is needed in this area, both in terms of payments to keep people going, but more than that, a comprehensive reshaping of drought and water policy to mitigate this level of harm when the next drought hits. And it will. A drought is just a time of below average rainfall. And as long as people have lived on this ancient continent, there's been good times and bad. When the Europeans settled this land, we were much smarter than we have been in recent times in harvesting water, building dams and infrastructure to get it from the places where there's too much water to places where there's not enough. Today's ministerial meeting in Moree is where these reforms need to start. Enough of the picture opportunities, of politicians walking around farms where there's not a blade of grass and farmers at the end of their tether. Ministers, state and the Federal Minister David Littleproud, they need to sit in a room, lock the door if necessary, and stay there until we have a better way forward than we do now. Now, don't get me wrong. The Morrison government has inherited a lot of this mess and they can't make it rain. I think they're doing a good job under difficult circumstances. I just wish they'd put more effort into fixing the water problem longer term rather than just parking the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, which is what so many of these payments do. Australia must have a national water management strategy, a plan for dams and water harvesting that we take as seriously as we take our national security plans, because water is as important. It's our economic security, and for too long we've let the bickering between states and the infiltration of local councils by the Greens stop us from doing what we used to do so well, and that's harness the opportunities and the water of this vast continent to our benefit. Arid countries like Israel, even Libya, they are far better at maximising their water resources than we are here. This is the country that dreamt up the snowy scheme 60-odd years ago. So why are our leaders letting us down, and why are we letting them get away with it? As the floods that will invariably end all droughts show, Australia doesn't have a water problem. We have a water management problem. And while helping farmers now is critical, I want to hear as much about what we're doing to avoid the consequences of the next drought as we hear today from Little Proud about the dollars being spent now. It's really easy in government to have a plan to spend more and more of the taxpayer dollar. I just want to be sure we're spending it on something that will make a long-term difference, and that's where I want to see the Morrison government put its efforts.